Yo, this is Saint Sergi, and you're now listening to Valley Views on 101.5 FM. Check it out.
And a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending when and where you're listening to Valley Views on KROJ on 101.5 FM and on all of our social media platforms at Valley Views SFV. My name is Hector, the host here of Valley Views, and we want to today, we have a special interview that we want to do with two folks that have both reached out, but not only that, to really highlight an incident that occurred here in the San Fernando Valley. And with that, I'm going to just read a statement here and then introduce our guests. And this statement here comes from a media advisory by the Filipino Migrant Center. And this was from June 14, 2022, related to the background of what we're going to talk about today. This was an incident that occurred at a McDonald's in North Hollywood, where Nerissa, age 47, and Patricia, 19, who's one of our guests here today, Roque, were waiting in the drive-thru line when their vehicle was struck by another car. The driver was an unidentified white male, approximately 6 feet tall, in his 20s or 30s. He approached the Roques car and used anti-Asian slurs, spoke in a mocking accent, and threatened them directly, saying, and open quotations, "I'll kill you," close quotations. So with that said, I want to introduce here to our show here both Patricia Roque, who was unfortunately, lived that event, and also community organizer with Ana Bayan, Los Angeles, Jhenine Cordero. First of all, Patricia and Jhenine, how are you today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much for asking.
And what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing well, very busy, ready to take action. Thank you for having us, Hector.
Yes, absolutely. And, let's really, I just want to start with you, Patricia. If you could just take us a little bit back to that incident. I read a little bit of the background, but, unfortunately, you were there, you experienced it. And can you just first and foremost tell us a little bit about, the moments leading up to this particular incident at that McDonald's in North Hollywood?
Both my mom, it was late at night, and I actually asked my mom if we could get some late night snacks, and to which she agreed. And so we drove through the McDonald's via the drive-through, and as we were ordering food, as we were about to get our order, a car struck our car from behind. And, that definitely caught us by surprise, because we were just going on about our night, and then suddenly a car struck us out of the blue. And so in a moment of panic for me and surprise, a mixture of both, I rushed out to get my phone and record, so that I could get like a clear image or video of the person's plate number, the car that just hit us. And while that was not happening, my mom's also started to call 911 because we definitely needed some sort of assistance during that time. And we thought that was it. We thought it was just going to be like a hit and run, because when the car that hit us drove to the side of our car, so I was in the front passenger seat, so I can clearly see the car. So I started recording, and when I saw the guy, and he also recognized me at that time, and he started saying, like, in a mocking accent, saying, "You're so Asian," to which, I mean, it's not really a surprise based on my facial features. But
oh, you're so Asian.
Yeah, and you bumped our car.
You're so Asian. You're Asian.
But that was definitely unprecedented. We didn't really expect that to come from him, but we thought that was it. And he started saying, different racist slurs at us as he was trying to taunt us. And he started driving off. And so at this point, I thought, well, it could not get any worse. He already drove off. I kind of got a clear picture of his plate number. So we'll probably just, call the 911 and probably call our insurance just so that everything's fixed. But unfortunately, that was not the end, because he actually made a U-turn and drove back to our car. And then I started recording again, and lo and behold, he started saying racist slurs again towards us, and he definitely made some hand motions trying to mimic like a squinting eye motion, so by dragging the ends of his eyes, and he after that he then told us, "I'll kill you."
Kill you! Oh, I want to kill you!
Really?
Yeah.
To which I caught it on video. He also said that still, with a mocking Asian accent, and he kept on saying those words, kept on mocking a racist accent as he drove off to the opposite side of where we are. So, this was before we even got our order. So it just happened on a whim. Even the workers at McDonald's noticed the event, the incident of that. And after that, I thought again, wow, that has got to be the worst thing that has happened tonight. But so as we were calling 911, as my mom was calling 911, I was calling my dad for backup so that he can come and support us while we wait for law enforcement to arrive. And as we were waiting, my mom went ahead and parked a parking spot near the restaurant. And as we were parked, and as my dad arrived to the scene a couple of minutes later, I started taking notice of the car that was back at the drive-through lane. We all thought that he drove off the location, but he actually turned around and went at the drive-through lane again, possibly to order something, after all that verbal abuse that he just gave us. And of course, since he was there, I took the opportunity to approach the car and take video and photo evidence as my mom was on the phone with 911, because they were asking for a description of the car and the person who hit us.
Through that process, what was going through your mind? What were your thoughts and emotions as, you were, of course, one, experiencing it, but also, you were on the phone with your dad at that time. And then also just, it was kind of like these multiple events throughout this whole incident, as far as the interaction you had with this particular person.
When the traffic collision happened, of course, I was panicking. And as I've said, I was panicked and surprised that happened. But after the verbal abuse, I wasn't feeling it at that time. I wasn't feeling scared or threatened, because my number one instinct was to take evidence of what just happened. Because at this point in time, just telling a story without any other sufficient evidence or reason to back it up is not enough for people to believe you. And having a video like that or having an evidence like that definitely helps your case. Oh, this definitely happened, because look, I took a video of it. This is real. And so that was one of my main priorities. Of course, calling for help, to which we did. My mom and I both called 911 and dad, respectively. So that was definitely what was going through my mind during that time.
Yeah, and then what was the other incident that transpired once your father arrived at the scene?
Yeah, so when my father arrived at the scene,
Papunta na. Uy, pumasok na kayo dito.
the guy started holding my dad. He grabbed a hold of my dad and he pushed him real hard, so hard with his bare hands that my dad fell on the curb stopper. And in that process, my dad hurt his left rib and his upper arm as well. He was basically towering over my dad. Again, he was 6 feet tall, and my dad is 5'1", 5'2". And my dad was under the curb stopper. It was on the ground, solid, hard concrete. And the guy was over him. And so when I saw that happen, we all rushed to approach them. And I got out of the car and I tried to separate the both of them. I was screaming. I was like, "Get up, Dad, get up." While I was still holding my phone in my hand. You know, I didn't even notice that I was recording because my mind is just full of, oh, wait, I need to get help, Dad. Like, I need to help him up. And so after that happened, after we successfully separated the both of them, with me holding my dad and trying to step away from the guy as much as possible, the suspect got a hold of my mom next.
Why?
Stop!
Shut the
He was also at the point of punching her in the face, but thankfully my mom deflected the hit, but it hit her chest instead. And now I rushed to Mom. And I was seeing up close on what was happening. He was screaming at her. Again, with his bare hands, choking her. And if I or the bystander weren't there to separate him and her and my mom away from each other as much as possible, I think he would have choked her to death. Honestly. It was that strong.
Did you ever imagine, here in the San Fernando Valley in North Hollywood, that you would experience exactly what you just shared with us here?
Never. I mean, my family and I have been living here for quite some time now, and we've never experienced something like this at all. We've been to that same location multiple times. I think one of the worst cases that we've had there was us not being able to make it through the drive-thru because they were already closed. And for something to happen like this around the place that we live in, it's definitely dangerous.
How is your mom and dad at the moment?
I mean, to be truthful, they're not doing okay. They're definitely not doing okay. My dad, in the process, got a broken rib and a bruised upper arm. And up to this day, he still couldn't lift anything heavy. He still has trouble walking. Still has trouble breathing. Even as simple as trying to sit up straight on his chair, trying to get up from a sitting position is difficult for him. And as for my mom, she has definitely chest pains. She also has difficulty breathing. And she's at this point where she thought she's okay by now, but then she would get these moments of difficulty breathing. And, she would alert us out of the blue saying, "Oh, I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like my chest hurts." And I mean, undoubtedly, that's the cause of the incident, That's the aftermath of what that guy had done to them.
Yeah. And what about yourself, Patricia? How are you doing right now?
Thankfully, I wasn't hurt by the guy, but then I kind of feel guilty in a way because I wasn't hurt in the process, but my parents were. And I think I have to think about that all the time as I see them struggling every day. I mean, they're not fully recovered, but they still have to go to work. Because if not, then how are we supposed to, live our lives? How are they supposed to earn money from trying to give us a stable life? And I feel extremely guilty because of that. And I also feel angry at what happened. Because at this point, the suspect has not been detained. He is still at large. A warrant is out for his arrest. He's been identified, but he's still roaming these streets. He could be anywhere right now. And he hasn't been held accountable for the terrible actions that he has done to me and my family. And not only that, to our community as well. And so I feel extremely angry and frustrated about.
Yeah, we definitely, I could feel that pain and that frustration as well. And I want to bring in here for this piece now, Jhenine Cordero, who, reached out to us and just tell us a little bit about just the community support. And I know that just listening to this, can be very difficult just to hear it and to relive it as well. Patricia, we thank you for that too. But Jhenine, just tell us a little bit about, based on this incident that has happened to the Roque family, just what have you seen as far as the community coming together to rally around this particular family, the Roque family?
Yeah. Given first of all, myself, I am close friends with Patricia's older brother. And so I know the family, I know him very well. So this, incident, what happened to them really hits home. Even for me, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, and just the thought of, Filipino, like a Filipino family, people who look like me, speak like me, and people part of my community being attacked in such a violent way is just really difficult for myself and other community members to process. But, to answer your question, Hector, rather than falling into despair and, even noting the fighting spirit of not only Patricia, but her mother, Narissa, I remember that night they asserted that, they don't want this to happen to any other Asian family or anyone ever again. They really wanted to do something about it, and they wanted to take action. And seeing their fighting spirit, myself and other community members from different Filipino organizations, like the ones mentioned earlier, like Anak Bayan, the Filipino Migrant Center, we have been working really closely with the Roque family to support them in their recovery. You know, particularly this is a burning issue, right? Anti-Asian hate. And so the Filipino Migrant Center actually launched this campaign to, you know, support the Roques fight for justice. And in this campaign, the Filipino Migrant Center in their lead and us other Filipino organizers, you know, sought to, you know, help the family in the recovery, whatever that looks like. So it started out with fundraising for the family's basic needs. Like Patricia said, her parents were severely injured, but they were still insistent, or still, it was necessary for them to work to make, you know, to meet their basic needs, to support their family. And so seeing them struggle like that, we had fundraised through the Filipino Migrant Center to support them. In addition to the fundraiser, we helped the family get connected to resources, whatever that looked like, legal, counseling, mental health, etc. Whatever the family needed, we would do the research, we would get them connected. And lastly, the community really heard the family's call to, you know, continue the fight, to escalate the case and ensure justice is served. And so we are actually mobilizing the community to the Van Nuys Courthouse this Friday, June 17 at 12 p.m. to rally for the Roques and call for an end to anti-Asian violence. Mm-hmm.
Based on this experience and everything that you have already shared, you know, just what is your reflection? Because, you know, we have seen this uptick in general of, you know, hate, you know, incidents happen all across our country, really, you know, but to have it hit here home in the San Fernando Valley, just what are your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, Hector, my initial thoughts are always like, you know, you hear it on the news all the time. And of course, it's agitating, frustrating, and saddening. But you never stop to think, like, could it happen to here? Could it happen to someone I know? Could it happen to me? And, you know, when you just see it on the news, right? And especially ever since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw that surge in really targeted anti-Asian violence. And like you said, we heard about it, you know, happening across the country, and really vulnerable Asian community members were being targeted, usually the elderly, usually those who appear physically weaker. And now hearing that, you know, it hit home, hearing that it happened to a family that I know, and seeing the hurt and trauma that it's inflicted on them, to me, it's so much to process, and almost like unbelievable. I remember I was speechless when I heard about what had happened, and even hearing the retelling of the incident is always very difficult to hear. And yeah, I just, you know, it makes me think, you know, now, like, not only is the Roque family unsafe, but I personally feel unsafe. Many other community members who look like me, who act like me, we feel unsafe because, you know, our own neighborhoods are being targeted. We're not welcome here. And I think, you know, for me, I just don't want it to, you know, I don't want this violence to continue. I really want it to stop. And rather than just remaining as another statistic, another segment on the news, just another sad story, I really want to uplift this story of the Roques and really empower them to fight anti-Asian hate, to fight anti-Asian violence, not alone, but in collaboration with the community, because, individual action can only do so much. What it really requires is unity, collective power to really ensure the end to these cycles of violence. And I think for me, what I really want to see is action from the San Fernando Valley community specifically, but across LA, across SoCal, across the US, to take a stand against anti-Asian hate, to get involved, in whatever capacity you can. Donate to support the Roque family in the recovery, help them find resources so that they can get their basic needs met, so they can cope with the trauma and harm, and mobilize, come to the rally on Friday, but also, don't let it end there. You need to keep the fight going, keep the momentum going. I think prior to this interview, actually, Patricia and I were talking, and, she said, this isn't just, their family's fight. This is our fight. And I totally agree. It is our collective fight, and ending anti-Asian hate, and ending anti-Asian violence, and ending all forms of violence. And it takes the collective to do that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jhenine. And just to bring you back in here, Patricia, just, you're still literally, going through this. First, I want to just once again thank you for, sharing that on our platform here and sharing a little bit more of that incident. I know that, reliving that and retelling it must not be a easy, experience to have to retell it. But I do appreciate that from you as well. And just, Patricia, what are your thoughts in general, just, based on this experience and what you feel should come out of this, for the entire community, but also for your family as well?
I think Jhenine summed it up pretty well, but to just kind of reiterate that, my main goal, and one of the main reasons why my family and I were willing to share our story, is so that people are aware that this is very much real, and for people living in our community, this is something that they should be aware of. This is something that they should be careful of. This is something that they should take note of. And, saying that is a bit unfortunate, but this has been the reality for the most of us. And it's a sad reality, but it just doesn't have to stop there, Like as Jhenine said, like it doesn't always have to be like a member of the community being another statistic, being another news segment. If we take a stand and unite against anti-Asian hate and violence, it will definitely bring a huge impact to the community. It would bring awareness to everyone. And that's what we need right now. That's what we all need. Because, my family and I could have just backed down, or I could have just stayed away from the media altogether and just let this happen in the shadows, or we could have just not pressed charges at all. But that's not the right way to do things. My family and I weren't doing anything bad. We were just getting food late at night. Why should we be scared of having to go outside, thinking that we might get hurt? And that's, again, the sad reality for a lot of us right now. And that's something that we should not just, step away from. A lot of people have been telling me that I should have just left it, or my family and I should have just stayed away or left the scene. But to be honest with you, my family and I, we've had a long history of fighting for what's right. My mom has been an incident where in her occupation, she wasn't getting the right wage that she was supposed to get. She was doing overtime, but she wasn't being paid for it. And so being in a family of fighters has definitely inspired me and influenced me to do the same thing. And I hope that sharing this could also impact and influence others, who were victims of such hate and violence, to know that they're not alone. This isn't just our fight. This is your fight as well.
We definitely appreciate Patricia, your just courageous stand on this, considering it's something that is deeply felt because it was such a personal attack, not just on you, but your family. And Jhenine, can you please just one more time tell us a little bit about the rally that's happening one more time, please, just so that our audience has that information as well.
Yes. So the rally is to really empower the Roque family and also advance their case. And so we, as the community, are really working toward supporting the Roque family and escalating the case and garnering more attention among media, other community members, and also the legal system to, take this case very seriously, that we as a community do not tolerate anti-Asian hate and violence, and that we want to seek justice for the Roques. And so this rally is going to be convening the community in the front of the Van Nuys Courthouse this Friday, June 17 at 12 p.m. noon.
I would also like to add into that one of the reasons why we're doing this rally is to highlight this case and to let people know that that we as a family and as a community deserve the right justice, the justice that we so rightfully deserve. And like I've said before, the suspect, he's already been identified. His name is Nicholas Weber, and he has a warrant out for his arrest because he didn't show up to court. He failed to show up to court on June 8th. And so being in that rally also highlights the importance of bringing attention to this case so that the suspect could be apprehended, because he is still at large. He is still walking along these streets. He's still walking. He's still going to different places, without, I don't know, maybe he probably thought that this was just like a one-time thing, but to us, it's a big deal. If a person has done something wrong, they have to be held accountable for their actions, because that's what justice is.
Absolutely. Well, just want to, on behalf of Valley Views on KROJ, thank both of you, Jhenine Cordero, from a community organizer from Anakbayan, Los Angeles, and then also, of course, Patricia Roque, who not only was there for that particular incident, but with her family as well. And also just want to wish you, Patricia, and your whole entire family just the best, not only through these times, but just, throughout the rest of, your time here in the San Fernando Valley and beyond. and we will continue to follow and to talk to you and to your family to make sure that everything's hopefully going as well as possible. And if we ourselves get any information or updates, we will also continue to highlight those updates, whether it's from law enforcement, the court proceedings, and or the Roque family or any other community organizations involved in this particular case. So with that said, we just want to thank you once again, and thank you so much for just sharing this particular unfortunate incident.
Thank you. I'm always welcome to sharing our story so that it could influence other people as well.
Thank you, Hector, for giving us the platform to allow Patricia to speak her truth.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Valley Views on Radio Ole 101.5 FM KROJ. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Valley Views SFV. For all of our past episodes, check out our SoundCloud podcast at soundcloud.com/Valley Views.